Why is Estrid bald?
She's into kung fu, and kung fu chicks are bald.
Really?
I assume so.
She's like from... Where's she from? Theros?
Probably Crappy-gawa.
Are they bald in Kamigawa?
Everybody's bald in Kamigawa. And Tarkir. Everybody's bald. Nobody has hair.
No, they got that weird orc haircut. Like, where half their head shaved. I guess I have that haircut.
Hey, this is the Commander Cookout Podcast, episode 71. I'm Brando. I'm here with Ryan. Today we're going to intro our new arc and give away some sweet cards and talk about the deck building process. Now hit our theme song! Hey, Ryan. We're back for yet another whirlwind adventure. How you doing?
Good. What's going down?
A whole ton is going down. We're off on a brand new, the aforementioned whirlwind adventure as we begin a new arc as we journey through the realms of EDH and Magic the Gathering. Ooh, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had lots of uptake on our supplemental giveaway for... It's not really for an arc, it's just because we have some stuff. We like to share the love. So we got lots going on this episode.
Yes. Giveaway for 500. We're not quite at 500 followers on Facebook, but we for sure are at 400 on Twitter, at 300. Let's call them followers just to make it easy. 300. Let's call it followers on YouTube, 300 of them. Built the packages. Really nostalgic going through the history of my collection. I posted a picture on Twitter of the before and after. Like all of my, not quite all, but let's call it all of my Magic collection sitting on the floor of my office in boxes and and all over the place. And then boiled down to what I think is 3 really good packages. 500 cards, 400 cards, 300 cards, token packages in all of them. And really fun, actually. Took a long-ass time.
Yeah, I'm like not even giving them away for a giveaway. I remember this was years ago when I did it, but the first time I did the big purge, like you get rid of all your, you get 12 of this, 14 of that. So I just threw them all in shopping bags, and I took them out to F&M for a couple of weeks and asked if anybody wanted them, and people would pick through them and bring them back, and pick through them and bring them back. Some guy added a whole bunch of cards to them one time. It's like, what are you doing? And then and then one time we tried to have a bonfire with them. Pro tip, kids, Magic cards are not flammable, so that's kind of neat. And another time I gave them all to Joel, and then one time I think I actually just recycled them all.
No way.
Yeah, in the purges over the decades I've been playing Magic.
Yeah, that's a thing. I think 19 years for me.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I say 19, but from like 2000 and I think 4 or 5 to about 2007, there wasn't a whole ton of Magic playing in there.
What was happening during that time? What was 4 to 7?
For me?
No, like, what was the Magic you missed? Was there anything good?
I didn't buy any Kamigawa.
Oh, boo-hoo. Yeah. Oh, you missed out on so much.
And the first set that I started to buy cards from when I came back was Lorwyn block cards.
It's pretty good. It's a good time to come back.
Yeah, so I missed Kamigawa, I missed Time Spiral block, and I missed Ravnica block, original Ravnica block.
There's a couple of good ones in there. Time Spiral, I just like it, but I mean, you got Lorwyn, and those are full of things that are never going to get reprinted ever, and are worth a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, totally. I got back in and started researching decks and found out that Fairies was, at the time, the best list to play, and tried to do like a budget Fairies list because I didn't want to spend $8 trillion because apparently Magic got really expensive in those couple years that I was off. I didn't want to do shock lands if I wasn't going to be playing standard a whole bunch. I wanted to put shock lands into my deck. Secluded Glens were the Fairy dual land. Bitter Blossom, Sower of Temptation, Vendilion Clique were all like super expensive.
They're all still super expensive.
Yeah,
well, not super expensive, but they're all still money.
You know what else was in that deck was Thoughtseize, and I didn't want to pay the Thoughtseize. But you know what? When I came back, the first set to have Planeswalkers in them was Lorwyn, and I thought, oh, what are these? I want to da-da-da-da-da, right?
First Planeswalker I bought, can you guess?
Tybalt. I got to look.
Grr, come on. Guess again. Try one more time. You'll never guess.
Chandra.
Foil Jace.
Foil
Jace Beleren was the very first Planeswalker I ever bought. Yep.
That's ironic all these years later, hey?
I know, right? I don't even know what I did with him. I feel like I either lost him, maybe he was in the big card theft of whatever year the card theft happened.
Oh, yeah, the grand card theft.
I'm not sure what happened to him.
You know what? Looking at the
much.
value of the cards that were stolen from your house, it probably was grand card theft.
Yes,
That's too bad. F you, whoever that guy is.
You scumbag.
Good on you for getting a Beta Bayou and a foil Rishadan port.
And probably throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts me a little bit. And everybody who heard that probably died a little bit on the inside, too.
Yeah, I die a little bit every day. Not because of that, but...
Because you're getting older, and that's how life works.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Anyways, should we get into it?
Yes.
Should we start with some social media coordinates in 1 minute or less?
Oh, my God.
I like the minute or less thing. Maybe we should keep doing that.
Well, we can see what we can do. We are CCO Podcast on Twitter and tappedout.net. That's where you can see any list that we've talked about over the course of the show. Not this week, but the deck that we're going to talk about later on in the show will eventually appear there. We are also Commander Cookout at gmail.com. That's where you can send us love mail, hate mail, show suggestions, deck list ideas, future arc ideas, cool magic stories, but no nudes.
Well, nudes.
We're also Commander Cookout on iTunes, Google Play, Google Machine, YouTube, Patreon, Podomatic, where we have usurped the ninnies as they have vacated their throne and F them.
Hashtag F the ninnies.
You can find us on flipsidegaming.com, where CCOFU promo code will get you 10% off store-wide, or you can check us out at the official home of Commander Cookout Podcast, CommanderCookout.com.
Yeah, I would go there if you're not into Facebooking and twittering.
I think it's tweeting.
Sure. If you're not into social media-ing, you can go to CommanderCookout.com to get the upcoming giveaway details.
Ooh.
Yeah, new arc means new giveaway.
I love new giveaways.
Perfect time for new arc to start, because coming out very shortly is Commander 18 precons.
Yeah.
A
lot of fanfare around these ones, Ryan?
Define fanfare.
Where people are all partying in the streets. Oh, yeah! Dragon Tribal's the best!
Yeah!
I love wizards! Look at all these broken cards! Look at this value! And you're doing that thing where you're throwing dollar bills all over the hallway? Is there a lot of that going on?
I would liken the fanfare to, like, Vancouver when the Canucks got eliminated from the playoffs and there was a riot. But there was that one picture on National Geographic magazine or Time magazine cover or whatever with the riot cops, but in the background there's a couple kissing laying on the street. You know what? If you Google famous Vancouver riot kissing picture, you'll find it. That's kind of what these decks are like, because there's some people that are excited. And I don't want to rag on them too much, because new giveaway, we're giving one away. Free, head to our Facebook, Twitter, or CommanderCookout.com to find all of the giveaway details.
Precon giveaway. Which one are we giving away, Ryan?
I don't know. Which one's the best one?
I don't think there is a best one this year. Usually there's that one that really stands kind of head and shoulders that everybody's excited about. There was Dragons, there was Mizzix, there was Duretti. Atraxa.
Yeah. Marin.
Yeah, Marin was another one where there's just everybody's pumped about that one.
You know what? Here's the thing. I don't think that we're going to cover these so exclusively, even in this arc coming up, once we let everybody know what it is. But from the sounds of the internet at large and other content creators that I listen to, I think that everybody's kind of the most hard for the Enchantress style one.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It's Esper, it's got a Merfolk, it's got a Planeswalker that gives has cool abilities, and it's Enchantress themed. I think it's actually good. Like, it feels like it's the one that has the most synergy to me.
Definitely. When I was looking through the spoiler, I like to look through the spoiler instead of the deck list, and then I try and guess what deck all the cards are in. It's a game I play. That one was way easier because all of the cards just
enchantments or auras or totem armor type things.
Or they have, what is it, bestow?
Yeah.
Stupid ability.
It's good. You could do bestow tribal now.
It's incredibly good.
I think that people are actually excited about that.
So maybe that'll be the one. Maybe it'll be Wind Grace. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to do? We're crazy.
maybe we'll make it random with like an extra couple entries for the Enchantress one.
Maybe.
Because that's kind of the one I think people want the most.
Sure. So more details coming up on that later on. But what are we going to talk about today, Ryan?
Well, I think kicking off a new arc, we have some splaining to do, if you will, right? You had said that there's some fanfare surrounding it. I said not everybody's super hard on all the lists. You had sent me a text that you thought that there was some glaring omissions from the Lord Windgray's, air quotes, Lands Matter deck. And again, I don't want to rag on them because new cards are always good. Precons are always good. It's good to get new people into the game. But what do you think?
Glaring omissions, Ryan. Glaring omissions are a thing. And we glaringly omitted to give away. We forgot to give away our card packages.
Oh, that's right.
So we should do that. Then we can talk about the myths and stumbles of the Lord Windgrace Land Matters EDH deck.
Very good. Okay, so like I said, closer to the top of the show, we're almost at 500 followers on Facebook. So we have got a 500 card pack for, let's say, new players, learning players, kids, people who are underprivileged, people who might not have local game stores, people who don't have access to the funds to buy cards. We thought that we, as longtime Magic players with big collections, can help people out.
Yeah.
We received a whole bunch of really good stories from Twitter and Facebook followers, and I want to highlight a one Mr. Charles A. Freeman on Facebook. He says he's a teacher down in Mississippi.
Ooh.
Yeah, CCO Nation in Mississippi.
I can almost spell that.
Yeah. Started a Magic club at his school last year. They came up with a scoring system for games, so everybody can like always get points and stuff. Sounds good. They've got 10 or 12 regulars. They've taught some high schoolers to play so they can have kind of like older kids included to, I don't know, maybe mentor or...
Make it look like it's cool.
Yeah, well, it is cool. Gaming is like coming back, right?
And it's Magic. It's cool. He
said receiving card package from CCO Podcast would really help bring more kids in or keep the kids engaged. And a reoccurring theme in all of the stories we got was receiving stuff helps, you know, you can redraft the stuff or you can use it to continually build, right? And I think because the packages they include non-basic lands and they include stuff from the breadth of Magic history all the way back to, I think, the Dark. And all the way forward, I think there's like a couple, like 3 or 4 Dominaria cards. So they go all the way everywhere. So Charles Freeman, you are the winner of the 500 card pack. Get after us on Facebook or Twitter. Send us a message, and we'll send you the cards.
Correct.
We've got a 400 card giveaway pack from Twitter. I'm going to say his name on Twitter because I don't know his real name. And it's kind of funny. At Teamer Twan.
Teamer Twan?
Sounds dirty, but I'm sure it's not.
I'm not going to Google that.
At Teamer Twan on Twitter. That was funny. Says that there is a young guy at his church. F the church because they're holding this kid down.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they're holding this kid down. This person's family isn't into like super hardcore card games or heavier board games other than maybe like Monopoly or whatever the standard board game is.
They'll let them play Monopoly, but they won't let them play Magic?
Yeah, they let them ruin families.
Wow, I've been in way more fights over Monopoly than Magic.
Yeah, so at Teamer Twan said he taught this kid to play Magic. Now this kid needs cards because they started playing EDH. And you know that you need the breadth of all of Magic to build EDH decks, including utility lands.
Correct.
So there's plenty of breadth, plenty of utility lands in the package. At Teamer Twan, get at CCO Podcast or CCO Brando on Twitter. Let us know where to send you the stuff.
Yeah.
Final winner. It was supposed to be a 300 card package for somebody commenting on YouTube, but the YouTube video didn't get any giveaway comments.
Worst.
He got other comments, but not for the giveaway. So we picked another one off of Twitter that I thought was really good. And the winner of the 300 card pack on Twitter at WheezyKW.
I'm not going to Google that either, just to be safe.
Yeah, I don't know what your real name is, but get at us. He lives in a place called Key West.
Sounds like a pie.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a pie or it's in Florida.
It's probably one or both of those things.
Yeah, no local game store in his city, town, Key West, whatever.
Oh, rough.
So they started a Saturday morning games club at a Starbucks, and they took over the Starbucks.
Nice.
Yeah, so F you hipsters and your coffee getting in the morning, sitting there with your laptops. Now there's gamers in there taking all of your space.
Yeah, they're hanging out there with their thick-rimmed glasses and their flippin' man buns, not writing a novel while they drink their coffee.
Yeah.
Screw you guys.
Yeah. So, at WheezyKW, get at us. We'll send you the package because you and your gaming club at Starbucks just won a bunch of cards.
I wonder if they also have a Subway. Every small town here in Saskatchewan has a Subway. They have nothing else. They have one horse, 3 old people, 1 little kid, and a Subway.
Yeah, there's like a town kid. There's a Subway and or Chinese food restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And a bar inside the hotel.
Yep.
That doesn't take credit cards or debit.
Yeah.
Yeah, those bastards. I went there the other day putting a roof on my buddy's house, and we went to go get beers after. No off sale. Like, you couldn't just go in and buy a case of beer. You had to sit down to drink beer there, and they only took cash. What the hell? Anyways, those are our winners, and we've got a little bit more housekeeping with some shout-outs.
Oh, yeah, shout-outs.
Hey, yeah, no, these are the important things. Shout out. Seaham Bye. New patron.
Or we call him Seaham Bye. Yeah.
Seaham Bye. Ka-ching!
Yeah.
Okay. That's just his real name with a $sign after it.
Yeah, but we put the different emphasis on the different syllable, and now he's a grocery list.
Very excellent. Next shout out. Sebastian Blackwell. New patron.
How about Sabo Blackcock?
I'm not going to Google that.
Nope.
I don't know if having a black cock is good or bad.
Indifferent?
If it gets bigger every time you go to a swamp, I think you either need to...
Get that checked.
Or, yeah.
You just get it checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next shout out.
All right.
James Forrester.
Jimmy Foreskin.
What is with the cock jokes?
Well, they're just happening.
Okay. I told James
Jimmy Foreskin?
Yep. I told him that he was going to get a nickname when he messaged me, and he's like, "How did you come up with nicknames?" I said, "Man, mostly we just say shit until something sticks." I guess it's Jimmy Next shout out.
Who's this one?
Steven Johnson. Johnson.
No, that's
just Johnson.
There it is.
Steven Johnson, actually of Commander Numerations on GatheringMagic.com.
Cool.
Wrote an article that I was in the other day.
Oh, neat.
I did an altar for him, and he wrote an article about it.
Well, that's badass.
Yeah, so I put the link on Twitter, but I'll put the link in the show notes as well. And everybody check that out. Read his article series on GatheringMagic.com, and check out his blog. He links to it in the article.
Also cool.
Very sweet.
So shout out to all you guys. Thanks for supporting the show. Because we're kind of circling back around, I guess, to where we kind of got off on our little tangent after glaring omissions. Let's talk about some glaring omissions from the C18 decks.
Specifically Windgrace, because that leads into the next arc, which I know we haven't really unveiled yet, but we did a Lord Windgrace deck a few weeks ago.
And we did it way better than WotC did, obviously.
I think, well, they're WotC. They have the opportunity to blaze the trail and make it the best because they can just print new cards to make it better.
And then they didn't do it as good as we did.
Yeah.
They had the opportunity to do literally anything they wanted, and they bungled it.
Let's talk about omissions.
Okay.
So it's a Lands Matters deck.
Yes. And we were just talking a little bit off air. There's no lands that matter.
Yeah, and here's the concession that we have to make as consumers of this product is we know that they can't just stick in they can't put a Tabernacle in there. They can't, yeah,
wouldn't that be good?
They can't put a Gaia's Cradle in there. They can't put maybe even an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth in there because it's like $30. They can't put a Dark Depths Thespian Stage combo in there because then one deck is worth astronomically more money.
If only they had other cards that were worth money that fit in the other decks.
To go on other decks, I agree. So what if they do, maybe a baseline of $1 or $2 cards like are in there, right? Blah, 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 whatever. Then you put a 10 or 15 card in there, and then you put a $20 or $25 card in there like they did in, Commander 16 and 17. All the decks were worth $100. And like monetary value, $100. You didn't pay $100 for them. Except for Atraxa, FU Atraxa.
A year ago, we were all talking about how Commander is like the value set. You never buy Commander and end up losing money. And this year, you do.
You kind of do. And I think we're not card designers, deck designers. We don't work for WotC, anything of that sort. But what if in the Lands Matter deck, they did put an Urborg in there? Or what did I say before we hit recording lands? Oracle of Moldiah, $35. Okay. Then what goes in the other decks? Well, there's an Enchantress deck. What if you did something like a Replenish, maybe too expensive, but an Opalescence? Turns all your enchantments into creatures. That's a $25 card.
You can put an Enchanted Evening. It's worth nothing, but it still goes in the deck.
Well, we're talking about things that are worth something,
yeah,
right? To make all the decks balanced from a monetary perspective. What if you did Sensei's Divining Top in the top of the Library Matters deck?
To go along with all those miracles that are in there.
Yeah. That aren't in there. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, that was
I got that sarcasm.
I
I don't do sarcasm, but I got that one. Right? And then what if in the artifact deck, like there's no Kark Clan Ironworks, and that card has been steadily climbing and climbing, especially since it's like a real deck in Modern now. That card is expensive and 100% goes in the artifact deck.
Could they do a Metalworker or something in there too, maybe?
Oh, maybe a little bit too expensive. You run into we're going to jam it each deck with like a $60 or $70 card, and then all the stores sell the product for $100, like from the vaults.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I wouldn't be opposed. I traded my Metalworker away years ago. If a Metalworker was in the deck and stores were still charging $50 per deck, 100% buy it. If I could get a second copy of Replenish in another deck, 100% buy it. If I could get like an Azusa and an Oracle of Moldiah in the Lands deck, or a Dark Depths. I don't even own a Dark Depths.
Dang.
100% buy it, right? I'm not sure I'm going to buy these.
And that's sad, because you've bought all of them forever.
Granted, we are giving one away, so...
we have to buy at least one.
I think I'll probably buy all of them.
Yeah.
Right?
For the record, and I'm sorry to everybody out there who's listening to this, the lack of value in these sets is 100% my fault, because I pre-ordered this year without seeing the whole list. And so I'm assuming it's
you're the bastard.
Yeah, that's the curse. I'm sorry, guys. This is my bad. I'll own this one. I'm sorry.
You know what I think we might run into is we're going to find that either the Enchantress deck or the, what's her name, Animatu, or the Esper Planeswalker, whatever, something's going to be really good. And one of the decks is going to be really good.
There's always that one where you go to... I see when I go to Walmart and stuff, you can always buy cats from last year. You can always buy wizards. You can always get
that's right.
the one that isn't dragons.
But you sure as hell can't buy dragons. You sure as hell can't buy Atraxa. And then what do they put in Commander Anthology? They put Kalia. That's the one you couldn't buy. They put Atraxa. That's the one you couldn't buy. They put Marin. That's the one you couldn't buy. So there is going to be one of those. That's probably the one we're going to give away, hey?
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can find one.
So we talked about Windgrace. We did them.
The glaring omission I wanted to mention, and this isn't a value thing. This isn't anything. Runamap Excavator.
Oh, yeah.
There is no earthly reason why that card should not be in that deck. It costs $1.50. It's a Lands Matter thing. It works super good with the title card, and it's not there.
And it's an EDH staple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's not going to sell decks, but it should be in there. It's not Oracle of Moldiah. I'll give you that. It's not Crucible of the World. They just reprinted that. So give us something. And they didn't.
Yep.
And that's how I know they're not listening to us.
But last week you said that they were. No, a mole was listening to us.
Yeah, there's just a mole.
God dang mole.
And that's why that guy was wearing mismatched socks, as I wear mismatched socks.
Actually, Richard Garfield wears mismatched socks. That's what that was about.
He stole it from me.
What are we going to do? Are we going to build Windgrace? Are we going to rebuild Windgrace to our liking?
Hell no. Everybody's doing that. But what we are going to do is we're going to go back over the history of the Commander products. We're going to pick some of the ones that may not have got the love that they deserved, and we're going to see if we can do a better job than WotC.
Yeah, I think everybody is super covering all of the C18 stuff, rebuilding, breaking it down. We want to do something a little bit different, put something fresh in your ear, so maybe we go back and look at who can wear it better, as it were.
Ooh.
Yeah, you go through Us Weekly or tabloid magazines or whatever, and you see two celebrities both wearing the same dress, and one's kind of like real ugly and one looks super hot.
It's like Oprah and Rihanna. It's like, who wore it better?
Ooh.
Sorry, Oprah.
Okay. Yeah. WotC is Oprah. We are Rihanna.
Exactly.
Arc of who wore it better.
Sure.
Working
title, but yeah, let's go with it.
Okay, it's a working title that'll probably stick forever. But
yes.
I guess the question is, how are we going to do that? We've got Commander 11, nothing in 12, because they did Arsenal. But then we got 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, because maybe we won't do 18. It's like 6 years of Commander products. We're going to maybe pick one from each year and give it a tweak, right? And of course, like the 2011 stuff is going to feel pretty outdated, and lots of those have pretty established builds. Like I'm thinking about Animar, there is like a list. Kalia, there is a certain amount of things that have to go into that deck that everybody knows about, right?
Yeah. We're not going to touch those ones.
Yeah,
though.
maybe like, and Prosh, he's a thing too, right? But the other ones that aren't those, we're going to do them better.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So if you have anything to say about Arc of who done it better,
or if you have an arc that you would like to see, or a deck that you want to see us do better, get at us on social media.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
If you want to see what we would do with Obnixilis, the Black Planeswalker guy, what would Brando and Ryan do with that? Maybe we will.
Very good.
Yeah.
So how do we actually do it right now? We've been talking last arc on, we did like 2 kind of stacks lists, and I don't want to beat the stacks thing to death, but you recently took some decks apart, and so did I, for the same reasons and for additional reasons. But the reason that was consistent between our 2 decks is to get cards to make a new deck or decks with. What did you take apart?
I took apart Snakes. Now, that one wasn't necessarily for cards, apart from pimping purposes. That one was because Nagas are a thing. Speaking of Rudamap Excavator,
Oh, yeah.
it's because they printed all of those sweet snakes. There's Vizier of the Menagerie. There's everything in Amonkhet, all these really great cards, but they're Nagas instead of snakes, and all of the snakes are from Kamigawa, or they're terrible draft chaff, so it's just underpowered now.
Yep.
The way to make the deck better is to take the snakes out and put in just better green stuff. So, took it apart. There's a few things that I got out of there. I got a foiled Kamal. That was a super foiled, pimped out deck. So lots of my decks are a lot
Kamal the
shinier
Fister?
now. Correct.
Oh, yeah, I like that guy in foil. From like from 10th edition or from like Onslaught?
Onslaught.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old border for life. F you, Evan.
Yeah, I don't mess around. I also took apart Queen Marchesa, Lord of Death Touch. Now that one, there's lots of Staxy cards kind of in there with lots of Death Touch, lots of Sacrifice, lots of get my garbage back from the graveyardy
that could be
stuff.
the start of where we're starting to see some crossover into how we're going to build this Who Wore It Better deck.
Correct.
Or decks, I should say. Okay, well, I took apart my Traxos deck, all artifacts. I wanted I think Planar Bridge. I didn't want to go and buy one, F that. And I didn't really like the deck because it was kind of janky, just like equip for free artifacts and try and one-shot somebody. That's fine. Lots of recursion with junk divers and mirror retrievers and stuff. So it was cool, but I wanted the Planar Bridge for Dragon Tribal because why not?
Because why not, of course.
Exactly. Who wants to pay 8 for a dragon when I can pay 8 for a dragon from my library? Right? That's how that works. So we take decks apart. We build new decks. Where are the cards that you freed up from your Death Touch Stacks deck and your Green Snake deck ending up? I think in the deck that you asked CCO Nation about on Facebook, this green control-y Stacks build that you were thinking about.
I've actually been working really, really hard on that deck, which is weird because usually I kind of just... it sort of forms itself in my brain and then I go build it. Whereas this one, I don't have any idea what I'm doing.
A little bit outside of your wheelhouse, if you will.
And I have lots of help coming in from all you guys. Thank you guys very much. CCO Brando on Twitter if you have any suggestions. So right now I have sort of monstrous stack. But if you include all the stuff in the shopping cart online, it's a pretty substantial stack of cards I'm kind of weeding through, finding the stacksy stuff. And I hit a little bit of a roadblock in that I don't think I'm getting the value that I need out of mono green. So what I did was I took Goreclaw and I put him a place where, or I could put her in a place where she can do more damage, which is in Grimlock Dinosaurs. Because what's better than a 6/6 dinosaur for 5? 6/6 dinosaur for 3.
Very excellent.
Yeah, so anyway, so now I'm like, well, if I don't have Goreclaw anymore, I can remove the power 4 or greater creature theme and focus more in on my stacks build.
Yeah, value, recursion, putting your opponents off their game.
Yeah. And for me, maybe green, it has some of that recursion, but it doesn't have that use the recursion to throw the opponents off the game plan like I think I want to do. So I thought I would add small b black to my capital G green deck.
Yeah, big G, small b.
Yes.
No X.
No X.
Like no other color.
No, I don't want to spread it out too much, because I don't have the capacity currently to build a really solid 3-color mana base.
Uh-huh.
That's one thing.
Because money.
Yeah, because money is a thing that I don't have a whole lot of. So I figured I could add in some black cards that I already have, and then I could do stuff that tears apart my opponent's hand, and I'd have a lot more easy recursion. So while I'm sacking all kinds of stuff, I can bring my opponents down with me and have more avenues to sack stuff.
Okay, well, before we go on to physically how you do that, you said tear your opponent's hands apart. Like opponent hand apart or opponent's hands? How do you do multiple opponents? Because discard is traditionally not very good in Commander. What are you thinking there specifically?
I'm thinking stuff like Bottomless Pit. It's an enchantment, black, 1. During each player's upkeep, that player discards a card at random.
Each player.
Each player.
And you would break symmetry by having recursion in your deck?
Yes.
Or by having things that you want in your graveyard, and opponents probably don't all have that at the same time like you would always want to have in your deck.
Exactly. And this is just an aside that I just thought of now.
Oh.
When I play green-black, what does that mean, Ryan?
You can play Dredge.
You're goddamn right that means I can play Dredge.
Oh, dang. I dredged myself to death last week, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea for sure. You want Dredge guys in your graveyard. Let's take a step back here and get behind your curtain a little bit more. That sounded way dirtier than I thought it was going to. Getting behind Brando's curtain.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a kilt.
Good thing.
Yes.
For this arc of, what do we call it? Arc of Who Done It Better? Who Wore It Better?
Who Wore It Better?
We want to make sure that we are giving some insight in our deck building process to the newer members of CCO Nation. We want to make sure that we're conveying in such a way that we want to make sure that if we're tearing a deck apart like a precon or any of our regular decks like you just talked about, that newer players can understand how to put stuff back together in a cohesive strategy. So when you do that, you rip all the cards out, you put them back into whatever colored section of your box or binder they go in, and let's say you're starting from scratch, and you know that you want to play some kind of control-y, stacksy build. You pull out all these cards that you think fit, and you said that you had a big stack. 120 cards, 100 cards, is that how you do it?
Yep.
Or do you pull them out of your box until you hit like 60 cards and you add 40 land?
I did that once, just as an experiment, and I sleeved it and played it, and it's awful.
Yeah.
It is terrible. I actually still have that deck put together, and I've just been slowly trying to make it playable as we go along.
And that's a strategy. That's a way that people can do that. Essentially, when you buy a pre-con, they're not terrible.
That's what you're doing, though.
They're cohesive, but you play with it a couple times until you're familiar with enough of the deck to say, I want to take this out, this is better. I want to take this out, it's better.
Also, if you're going to tear something apart, you really need to have played it a couple of times so that you know the core. So you're not just, let's use Windgrace as an example. So you're not just taking the Windgrace card and then building a 99 card deck underneath him.
That's maybe advanced deck building, right?
Yeah, like,
we're just for the purposes of this conversation, maybe we're talking about deck building 101.
Yeah, like if we're retooling, rehashing, revamping, realigning, you need to find that core and then take all the crap off of the core and then you bulk it back up with better things.
Yeah.
Like in my case, I'm playing...
I think that is the case when you build a deck from scratch as well. You want to be able to play it. Like if you're an advanced deck builder and you put something together that you think is going to work really well, you're going to play it 3 or 4 times before you realize, oh, this 1 or 2 cards isn't actually what I need. And you still are going to do that, except you're not going to do it 20 cards at a time at an advanced level. You're going to do it 1 or 2 at a time, right? And that could even just mean switch out, this swamp for this forest. Something as simple as that.
Exactly. And like cores and things, let's just say stacks, black-green deck I want to build. Holy crap, I can play dredge. So as soon as you have that kind of core, I want to build my deck around graveyard dredge. That immediately includes 13-ish cards that have the word dredge on them. Yeah. So those go in the pile, not in the auto-include pile, but they're there.
Yep.
And so now you have your core. You're building a stacks deck. So what do you pull out? You pull out stacks. You pull out your bottomless pit. You pull out...
your static orb and your tangle wire.
And your winter orb. And now you've got, say, 30 cards, and then you got to build around those, and you got to find ways to eke out your value and eke out your wins, and make it a deck that you can, A, understand, and B, pilot to a win.
Yeah, and for those specific orbs, don't forget your Clock of Omens. It lets you tap 2 artifacts to untap another artifact. And those stacks things, you can tap them to turn them off, right? So you tap them with Clock of Omens to untap your mana rocks to activate abilities. And you would play activated abilities because your other rocks, like Trinisphere or whatever, make stuff more expensive, right? So you have activated abilities so you don't have to pay more because of your own orbs and spheres. You activate an ability by untapping a mana rock, by tapping things to shut them off. It's really, really grindy and makes it a little bit hard to play. But don't forget your Clock of Omens, kids. Why the hell wasn't that in Commander 2018?
Yeah, and they're like 50 cents.
Yeah, that would definitely go in the Saheeli deck, hey?
Yeah.
Maybe it's too grindy or maybe it's too combo-y. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to put cards like that in. But it's modern. Like, that's a M13 card. It's not like it's that long ago.
Who knows what they're thinking?
We're talking about deck building. You had talked about the 13 cards that you want to run with stacks on it. And they range in converted mana cost from 0, like on Dakmor Salvage, it's a land, all the way up to, I think, Golgari Grave Troll's like 5 or 6. There's got to be dredge cards that cost more.
There are, but they're the ones that you don't play.
Oh, okay.
Like
so
there's that stupid beetle, I think. I don't even know what it does, but it dredges 3.
Okay, so you put your dredge cards, the core of this value recursion stacks deck. You get your dredge cards, converted mana cost from 0 up to 5 or 6, and you lay them out, converted mana cost left to right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you build around there, making sure you have a curve or lots of spells in the 1, 2, 3 category, and then taper off to 4, 5, 6. Is that a good way to do it?
Depends what you're doing.
Okay. For our specific arc, we've got a precon, the 2013 whatever precon. And we lay that deck out, all the spells from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus converted mana cost. And we see, there's 3 or 4 at 1, 5 or 6 at 2, 14 3 drops, 14 4 drops, 5 or 6 5 drops, 1 or 2 6 plus drops. Right? And that kind of looks like the bar graph mana curve thing that you see on Tapped Out. And you make cuts based on, not wanting 6 drops. Or you add in 1 drops or mana dorks to speed it up. And you cut some of the 4-drop ramp like your explosive vegetation. Is that how you do it?
That is not how I do it, actually.
Okay.
When I get to that portion, I do have everything all lined up and stuff by mana, cost, and color and all that stuff. But what I do when I hit that point is I build specifically for our meta. I think, okay, this is a deck that I'll play when there's 5 of us. One of those people will be Ryan. he'll probably play this. One of those people will most likely be JJ or
so you're
Smitty.
metagame. You're going back to that advanced deck building stuff. What's Ryan going to play in that big 5-player game?
What kind of decks am I going to see? Do I have to worry about combo that's super fast? Not really. So I can afford to go a little bit top heavy. Now, when you're going to build to play against randos, you don't want to do that. You want to think about your 5-6 drops. You don't want to have too many. But when you're playing in a kind of a slower casual thing, gauge your meta. Gauge where you're playing. If you're playing with your friends.
I think that's a good point. If you know you're playing in those 5- and 6-player games against people that you know their decks, you can go a little bit top heavy. If you're playing against randoms at your LGS, you would maybe want to make the 5 and 6 drops your finishers and be very selective with them, and you would have a lot more interaction to put other people off their game in the early game.
Yeah, like for us, like when I build to play in the metagame, I just make sure that I have 1 or 2 wrecking balls that I can hit the table with and win. Just out of nowhere, here it comes, bang, y'all lose.
As like a supplemental way to win.
Exactly. That's the Jack-in-the-Box principle that we talked about before, where I have some little secret...
Or just the deck building 101 principle we talk about. Play your utility lands, have a backup win condition.
Have a multiple paths to victory.
Multiple paths to victory. That's what we say. That's
very important. But when you go in to play against those randoms, you got to make sure that you've got just a cohesive plan going forward, and every turn you got action. There's nothing that feels worse than land, go, land, artifact, go. Nothing.
Yeah, that's a thing. Unless your artifact is like, I don't know, something really good.
Yeah, and even then, like it better be damn good.
Okay, so we've got a core, dredge. We've got color combination. We've got an idea of what the floor of your bedroom or office or living room looks like.
Yes.
With cards laid out as per their converted mana cost.
Yeah, amongst the dog hair, it's a thing.
Yeah, and there's maybe like 100 of them plus the dredge cards that you've got.
Yep. In
this particular example, I know that you don't have a commander yet.
I do not.
So in my notes, and we went to EDHREC.com to look at all the Golgari commanders, and I immediately hit on this, and you immediately hit on the same 3 that I have in my show notes. They are Marin of Clan Neltoth, the Gitrog monster, and Glissa the Traitor.
Yeah.
Now, Clarin of Clan Claltwa. Marin of Clan Neltoth, 4-drop, 3/4. When a creature dies, you get a experience counter.
Yep.
And at the beginning of each end step, get a creature back from your graveyard to your hand or to the battlefield based on mana cost and experience counters.
Yeah, mana cost 2 experience counters.
Yeah. So, grindy lets you get lots of cards back into play or into hand. You can get back your Caustic Caterpillars and your Shriek Maws and your Ravenous Chupacabras or whatever the hell it's called.
Manglehorn.
Manglehorn that destroys artifacts. Chupacabra that destroys creatures. Caustic Caterpillar that destroys enchantments. And you can make a Marin deck with creatures that destroy things or give you ETB value at 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to whatever converted mana cost.
But she's also the most common Golgari commander.
Yeah, not super CCO, right?
No, and she's got experience counters, and even when they're on my side, I hate them. And Alex, who's rejoining our play group in the next few weeks, already plays her.
Yeah,
so I
Alex.
I soft eliminated her.
Okay. Gitrog is the next one.
Yeah, that was the top of my list of 3. I liked Gitrog, but I wasn't 100% sure. A, because he's a little pricey and I don't have one.
He's a 6/6 Death Touch for 5. At the beginning of your upkeep, sack a land or what? Or him. And whenever a land goes to your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card.
And you can play an additional land each turn.
Oh. Fuck, it's like a grocery list of stuff that he does. He's super good. He's like tier 1.5 or he's like fairly competitive, maybe tier 2.
I could see how strong he could be, especially when you're playing him in a deck that plays your Runamap Excavator and or your Crucible of Worlds.
And you want your Dakmor Salvage to go from your hand to your graveyard so you can mill a card to dredge it back to your hand so you can do it again. It's value, so you can draw even more and more and more cards from Gitrog. It's kind of a lands matters deck.
Precisely. There's a little bit less stacksy, and I feel like I'd have to... Him and Marin, I feel, are both kind of build-aroundy for what I'm trying to do, whereas Gitrog is very land-intensive and Marin is very creature-intensive, and I don't know if I want to go all in on either of those things, which is the same reason I didn't want to go with Glissa, the third one on the list, because she's very artifact-intensive, and it's just, I'm committing so much to one thing, and I think that you and I both agree that Glissa is probably the best choice now, because I have one. For
what you're doing.
Yeah.
With your Trinispheres, your static orbs, your winter orbs, because Glissa, not only is she a first striking death toucher,
which is insane by itself, yeah.
Yeah. You have experience playing with death touch creatures, and there is a whole ton that have flash and death touch that probably fit in the deck just as removal or blockers. Okay, cool. And then Glissa says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you get an artifact back from your graveyard to your hand. Well, what if you played sack outlets? Okay, so you've got creatures, you can sacrifice your whatever, Mirror Retriever or Junk Diver, and you have a Grave Pact. Whenever you have a creature that dies, your opponent eats sack a creature. 3 opponents, all sack creatures, trigger Glissa 3 times. You get back 3 artifacts. Plus, you get an artifact back with your Junk Diver, right? And all those artifacts that are in your graveyard could have been ones that were also creatures, or they could have been your orbs and your spheres or whatever, your stacks cards, your smokestack.
That you dredged away.
That you either dredged away or that you sacrificed for some other kind of gain, right? And you could have your creature sack outlets could be like, of course, Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar to get mana, but also Carnage Altar, sacrifice a creature, draw a card.
For 3.
Yeah, 3,
that's important.
Sack a creature, draw a card. You sack that Junk Diver, everybody else sacks a creature, you get back 4 artifacts, including Junk Diver.
Yeah.
Right? So lots of grindiness there, lots of dredge. I mean, we haven't said what dredge is, but essentially when it's in your graveyard and you would draw a card, you can dredge X and return. Dredge X means mill the top X of your library into your graveyard and get the dredge card back into your hand. Recursion there. Then you're putting all your artifacts into your graveyard for Glissa to get them back when you sacrifice a creature. She's low to the ground. She's super grindy. She draws you lots of cards. She probably doesn't need a whole ton of land in the deck, so you can pack it full of those kinds of effects. Right? 34, 35 land.
Let me throw another one at you. And this is another thing, deck building 101. Let's say you have a really cool idea. I really want to play this. Whatever it is. You've come across a combo. Let's say that for the first time ever you've seen Intruder Alarm and Krenko Mob Boss.
Ooh.
And you just want to put that in a deck.
Let's highlight that. Enchantment says creatures don't untap.
Yep, that's Intruder Alarm.
Yep. Whenever a creature enters a battlefield, untap all other creatures.
Correct.
Krenko says tap. Put a goblin into play for each goblin you control. So you tap them, goblin comes into play.
Untaps Krenko.
Untaps Krenko, tap them, put 2 goblins into play.
Untap Krenko.
Untap Krenko. 4 goblins into play. Untap Krenko. Okay, so you go up to 1,000 goblins and swing for the win.
Exactly. So that, like, you see that? I really want to jam that in a deck. You can't jam it in Krenko because Intruder Alarm is blue, so you got to think of a new way of doing it. Once they opened up to Hammer to build a Golgari deck, now I can finally play Buttgasp, that's Bloodghast, and Guttergrime. Bloodghast is a 2/1 can't block vampire for black. If it's in your graveyard, whenever land comes into play, you bring it back.
To play. Yeah, okay.
Guttergrime is whenever a creature, non-token, hits your bin, it gets a counter, and you get an ooze token creature with power and toughness equal to the number of counters on Guttergrime. So I'm thinking I can just sack the Buttgasp over and over and over again, play like 6 land in a turn, get him back a whole bunch of times, and end up with a buttload of 6/6 oozes.
That's like a super synergy maybe with Gitrog Monster.deck if you were going to play extra land from Gitrog, extra land from Oracle of Moldiah, 2 extra lands from Azusa, extra land from Rite of Flourishing, right? So there's 5 or 6 lands per turn to get your Gitrog synergy.
Correct. Right? And if they're all fetch lands, you're going to be drawing cards.
You sacrifice all those fetch lands, so Gitrog draws you all those cards.
And then I run into, am I just playing Omnath, Locus of Rage, and Golgari?
Or
and I worry.
Or more specifically, are you just playing Gitrog.deck?
Yeah, and I don't want to play.
You don't want to do either of
stat.
those things, right?
Yeah, I don't want to do either of those two things. So what do? What is a new stacks builder? Because all of my inclinations are just don't build stacks, Brando. Build this other newer, shinier, funner thing.
I think the big thing is you go out of your comfort zone, and I think that might be a reoccurring theme of Arc of who did it better, who wore it better. Is okay. We know that the Duretti deck from Commander 14 or the Teferi deck from Commander 2014 is a combo control deck or is an Artifacts Matter deck. What else is it? What else can we do with it? How can we make it unique so when you sit down, you can play it out throughout the course of the game. You end up convincing the pod that you're sitting with that, wow, this is unique and interesting and fun and not what I expected. Yeah, that's very CCO.
Yes, that's what we're here for. And that's what we're trying to do. And here we are talking about building a deck that's literally the least fun of any deck you can ever play against in stacks.
Well, and I mean, we're hitting on the point of Gitrog.deck.
Yeah.
Because that's just a value recursion and combo deck. And it does the same thing every time, right? Whereas a Glissa deck, yeah, sure, there's lots of artifact recursion, but if maybe that's what your Death Touch, low to the ground Death Touch aggro deck turns into, right? Nobody says you need to build stacks and then it needs to stay stacks, right? Yeah. It morphs over time. Once you get past deck building 101 and you get to more advanced deck building, you say, oh, you know what? This Trinisphere is really hurting me because everything that I want to play costs less than 3. And in 4 or 5 player EDH games, we just talked about people kind of top loading their deck with 6 and 7 drops so Trinisphere doesn't actually hurt them, right? So you take the Trinisphere out and you put in, you know, your 13th or 14th dredge card to get more value out of Glissa.
In our play group, pull back the curtain, Trinisphere hurts Ryan. That is all.
Yes.
Yep. Maybe Evan, but mostly you. You're the one that kind of has those opening kind of efficiency things. You have more 1 and 2 drops than most people.
I think so.
And then Evan plays lots of stuff that gets him value crap.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that feels better than somebody playing a Maelstrom Wanderer into a Trinisphere. Nothing. There's nothing that feels better than that.
So excellent. Okay, so I think the last question we would have to ask ourselves when we go, or that I ask myself, maybe you do, I know I will when I'm building decks for Arc of who wore it better, is not necessarily not necessarily how commander focused I want to be, but how often do I want my commander? How often do I need my commander? All right, I'm thinking about my Lord of Tressorhorn deck. Lots of graveyard value in that deck, like this one. Specifically, when creature dies. I don't have enter the battlefield triggers on creatures. I have when they die triggers. Lord of Tressorhorn comes into play and says, sacrifice 2 creatures. So let's get some value off of that, right? That all being said, I only play Lord of Tressorhorn maybe 2 times in a game. If he comes down once, I want to swing with Infect or Unblockable and kill somebody with general damage, right? Double Strike or Infect, because he's got 10 power. After that, I'm relying on graveyard recursion and just leave the battlefield value to loop creatures in and out of play to kind of dink everybody else to death. In a Glissa deck, I think that you need her. In a Gitrog deck, you need them. In a Marin deck, you need her. Ask yourself that when you're looking at this green-black stacks deck between these 3 generals.
Do you really? I was thinking maybe doing Mazarik too, but like...
Whenever anybody sacrifices something, all your guys get +1/+1 counter, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good deck. We did a Mazarik deck on the show a couple months ago.
Yeah, and then
last year.
Good with smokestacks, right? Every turn you sack 3 things, sack 3 things, sack 3 things.
Mazarik token, sack, and just make green-black Saproling like Necrogenesis, Night Soil, remove cards in graveyards to get Saprolings, sack Saprolings to smokestacks, all your creatures get giant.
And now we're on the pain train.
Yeah, now you have your 2/2 Caustic Caterpillar that you got back, or your 1/1 Caustic Caterpillar that you got back from Marin, because she'll go in that deck.
Yeah. Now it's a 14/14.
Hell yeah, dude! Maybe that's what you do.
But it's a thing. It's fun and I like it, but hard to do.
A little bit.
I'm
I
having-
think I think good insight though from how you think about it and how your brain jumps from, Marin to Gitrog to my suggestion Glissa to your maybe third or fourth pick Mazarek. I think it's going to be tempting to go like Fraley's was the commander of the mono green 2014 Planeswalker deck, but Titania is like really value kind of the same lines, like she goes in the Gitrog deck, right? So I think that we're going to find that over the next 4 or 5 weeks that we're going to maybe want to jump from something to something, right? Or if we did end up doing the Commander 11 decks, let's make a fun Animar deck. Oh, there are no such things.
Yeah, those don't exist, right?
Right? So then you jump to Maelstrom Wanderer and you're like, oh, wait, there's no fun Maelstrom Wanderer decks either. God dang, I got to switch to something else. And then you go back to like Surak Dragonclaw
Yeah,
or
we're back to
something,
Werewolf Tribal.
right?
God damn it.
Yeah, and then that's not a C11 deck, right? I think the take-home message there is restrictions breed creativity. And if you've decided to go dredge, value, green, black.
Is that still stacks? CCO Nation, let me know. Can you play Dredge in stacks and still have it be a stacks deck?
You sound like the biggest piece of shit I've ever known just for saying that sentence. That's so funny. Oh, man. You know what's funny is I don't think around our table it would end up playing like a stacks deck.
No, I don't either.
Right? Like I built the Vivictus Asmati the Dire land destruction deck, everybody calls it. But how many times the last time I played it did I actually destroy land?
You're the one that called it a land destruction deck.
Yeah, but I uncalled it that. I uncalled it that. And remember, I had it. Then Smitty stole it. Then he gave it back because I killed his steel card. Then he cloned it. Then he writer replicationed it, like not kicked. So there was at any point in the game 2 Vivictus Asmati the Dyers.
That's insane.
Just because he was the most powerful card. He was a 6/6 flyer that destroys shit that you don't like, right?
And the things that he didn't like were the things that let everybody else play cards. We almost all got to play Magic that game, but then we didn't.
But notably, they weren't always land. Yeah, I offed a few land, but Smitty didn't. I offed Smitty's Vivictus, right? Because I didn't want him to off mine, right? So, I mean, does it actually play like a stacks dredge list, or does it play like every other Golgari green-black graveyard recursion list? Right? Like,
Yes, do I just end up beating wholesale ass with zombies, or...
yeah, you end up just slotting Mazarek in there because you've never played him before, and then all of a sudden your Caustic Caterpillars are 14/14, and oh look, I'm playing like big dumb idiot green deck and not stacks, right?
Oops.
Yeah, so I mean, you end up sacrificing all your land to your smokestacks because you don't want to get rid of your Caustic Caterpillar.
Have you ever heard anybody say that in real life? Anybody? Has anybody ever heard, I think I'm going to sack these 5 land because I really want to keep my Caustic Caterpillar up. I just can't picture it.
It's ironic because Caustic Caterpillar actually takes mana to activate his ability.
Yeah. And he's there to die. That's his point.
But you know what? If you're playing your Clock of Omens and your stacks cards and your spheres and orbs, you can untap your mana rocks. Right? So
I suppose, yeah.
You could keep your Caustic Caterpillar mana up all the time with your Clock of Omens. But then we are pieces of crap again.
Yes, we are.
You know what I still want to do? Last thing before we kind of bookend the show and we go back over our new contest giveaway. I want to do a card of the week. No list, but let's do one.
You want to do a card of the week?
Yes.
What's the card of the week, Ryan?
I don't know. It's your deck that we're talking about.
Bottomless Pit. I just talked about playing a Dredge Stacks deck. Bottomless Pit.
Okay, let me see if I can get it right. It's from Stronghold. Enchantment. Black 1. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player discards a card at random.
Yes, sir.
And it's like 38 cents.
I would be very surprised if it costs 38 cents. It is, in fact, 49 cents.
Holy, I was off like 11 American cents or 25 Canadian dollars.
Right?
Yeah, I did you. I did you. Okay, card of the week. Very excellent.
Yeah.
Run over our latest giveaway details for a Commander 2018 deck one more time and give us your final thoughts of the day.
Okay, new giveaway. We're going to be giving away a Commander 18 deck at random. We're not sure which one yet. All the details are going to be on Twitter and Facebook and on CommanderCookout.com. So check that out, and we'll have more details to come on our next episode. Congratulations again to the winners of our 3, 4, 500 card giveaway packs. Their names again are, Ryan?
Charles A. Freeman.
Congratulations.
At Teamer Twan.
Good on you, bud.
And at Wheezy KW.
That's some dope-ass shit. Get at us. Give us your deets. We will send you some cards, and you can use them to promote goodness and magic in the world. So that's kind of the end of our deck-building thought experiment. Talked a little bit more stacks. I promise we won't build a stacks deck during the next arc unless it really, really, really works. Unless somebody needs to get fucking stacks to death.
F you, Evan.
In which case we will do it.
And Jesse. And JJ. And Smitty. F everybody. Even you. You're going to get Vivixtus to death next week.
Is that how it's going? Is that how it's going down?
Yes.
Okay. Just the...
I'm getting the eye. I'm going to back away from the mic. Hashtag F the ninnies.
So we'll be back next week. We're going to have a fun new deck that we kind of spruced up from an old list that WotC gave to us, and it probably sucks just as bad as some of the C18 lists did with their exclusions and some of the things that probably should have been in there that weren't, and we're going to try and do it a little bit better than they did. And you can let us know what decks you want us to look at by going to CommanderCookout.com, checking out our social media. Get at us there. We'll get a look at that and get a deck built for the next exciting episode of Commander Cookout Podcast. Hit our theme song! Woo!